Paul Felder, the legend, the Irish Long, the Irish Dragon, Iron Long, whatever you want to call him.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Boom!
The Irish Dragon, the Irish Long, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, the Irish Long, the Iron Long, whatever you want to call it nowadays, yeah.
Is back in the USADA testing pool. When he plans to fight, who he should fight, all things you need to know in this video, guys. Hello and welcome to Bloodsport MMA. Paul Felder used to fight in the UFC's Lightweight division and is now commentating and doing analyst jobs for the UFC. So you might know him from the commentary booth, especially if you're newer to the sport. Paul Felder, though, was a phenomenal lightweight, great striker, kickboxer, and until Islam Makhachev finished Charles Oliveira, he was the last guy to finish Charles Oliveira, which is kind of crazy. Nowadays, he is 39 years old, which is definitely not the youngest age to make a comeback. But he said that he got inspired, or he at least mentioned that, first after the Robbie Lawler win, when Robbie Lawler came for one last fight into the octagon, had that perfect send-off with all the fans, like taking it all in, finishing the guy, this and that. And then when Korean Zombie had that last fight, even though the Korean Zombie lost, just because knowing you have the last fight, coming in there with a crowd, getting a real send-off, because Paul Felder never really had that. Paul Felder, the last fight of him was on like 3-4 days notice or something, like very short notice against Rafael dos Anjos in November of 2020. So nearly 3 years ago. That's not how you want to go off, especially he lost that fight by split decision, even though everyone, including him, knows that it should be a unanimous decision, not a split decision. But anyways, lost a split decision, 2-fight losing streak, then lost to Dan Hooker in a big war, in a 5-round war, and then lost to Rafael dos Anjos in a 5-round war. And this just took a toll of him, like it took so much from him, all those hard and long fights, and he just decided to call it a career. He has a kid, a family, this and that, and he just didn't want to do that to his body anymore. And also the weight cuts were not too easy for him. He talked a lot about liver problems and stuff. So he decided to retire, but ever since he retired, he always talked about the ick of coming back, that he somehow can't get it out of his head, and especially now with those two beautiful retirements, he wants to have a proper send-off. He didn't say that the fight that he wants to have when he comes back will be his last one again, but that's how I would interpret this, and he's aiming for UFC 300 because he's back in the USADA testing pool, I think since end of August or beginning of September. So he has to do the 6-month testing period, which would work perfectly for UFC 300, which will be in probably April. That would be phenomenal. I mean, on one of the biggest cards of the century probably, because the 100, 200, 300 cards, they always make this a big festival. That would be a phenomenal send-off. Probably end of the prelims, beginning of the main card, something like that. The thing is, I think he will have no problems coming back to lightweight, because first I thought, will he come back to welterweight or lightweight? Because normally you retire, this and that. He's talked about the hard weight cut, whatever. But I'm pretty sure he comes back to lightweight because he was a triathlete when he was retired. The whole last 3 years he was being a triathlete, which is crazy. He was living like an athlete still, like a triathlete. They're skinny and everything, and he looks very skinny.
Nobody knows where is Skinny Boy. Skinny Boy is hiding. Show up, Skinny Boy. Let's fight. I'm ready.
So I don't think he will have that much of a big weight cut like he used to have. So I do believe he will come back in the lightweight division. And what you also have to see why the retirement, even though he's 39, is not that crazy of an idea, is Paul Felder didn't have a career where he took some, especially in his last 2 fights, he took some damage. But he only got finished once. A referee stoppage, TKO, I think it was.
Doctor stoppage! They're telling doctor stoppage!
He's not like, he hasn't been knocked out 5 times or something. It's not like his brain is absolutely messed up and oh my God, 39, hopefully he doesn't get hit anymore, you know what I mean? And he had 3 proper years off, his body could fully recover, even though he still has huge problems with his hip. He just recently announced that he can't even train for triathlons anymore. I don't know how this works, how he can train for martial arts, but not for triathlons. But because he said his hip, he did an MRI, his hip is literally without any soft tissue anymore. His hip is just bone on bone, doing this the whole time. And this is so unhealthy and painful. So he will probably need an artificial hip after his career. I don't think he will get that now, but probably after his last fight. I just wonder how he even trains, because like kicking, putting your hips in the kicks, in the punches, that can't feel good with a bone-on-bone hip. But hey, more power to him, more power to him. I love Paul Felder. He's phenomenal, very underappreciated fighter. And for the fights that make sense for him, he was ranked, as far as I remember at least, he was ranked when he retired. He fought RDA and Hooker in his last fights, two, at least back then, ranked lightweights. I think they're both officially still ranked, even though RDA is a welterweight now. I think he's number 11 in the lightweight division. Anyways, it would be cool and fair to give him a lightweight that is ranked behind in the rankings. I would have no problem if they find a cool money fight for him. Maybe Paddy Pimblett, I don't know, depends on how he does against Ferguson, but why not? Paul Felder, Paddy Pimblett, it's just a cool fight for him. But if we stick with the rank, guys, I have two great options. First option is, my favorite one, Manny Moicano. Moicano's ranked number 13 at the moment. Moicano has been on some tough losses, had some good wins. Like, he's a guy that's always like keeps himself up there, but never really pushes the ranking too much. He's 34 years old. He's also not the very youngest anymore. Of course, he's still 5 years younger than Felder. But Moicano would be a fun name, not just a small fight. It would be a big fight, kind of, Paul Felder against Moicano. It would be a fun build-up, a fun style for Felder as well. It would be a fun fight to watch. Also, Moicano just recently, in one of his last 3 fights, I believe, lost to RDA, also on short notice, same like Paul Felder, so why not? Makes sense. And otherwise, there is also Diego Ferreira there, who's also a legend, who's 38 years old, so nearly the same age as Paul Felder. It would make a lot of sense. Both UFC legends. Diego Ferreira just comes off a knockout win against Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson would actually also be a good opponent for Felder. Anyways, you see there's a lot of opponents for Felder that could make sense. UFC 300, somewhere in there. Would love to see that. I just hope Felder can make it until then without suffering any real career-ending injuries, And I would love to see the Irish Dragon back in the UFC octagon. What is your opinion? Write in the comments, guys. Do you like Paul Felder? Do you think he absolutely sucks? Write it all in the comments, guys. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and that you can fight at UFC 300. Make sure to get your sleep in. Until the next one, bye-bye. Bloodsport out.